Hey there, guys, it's Silver, and I have just been to see the Joker movie. Let's have a little discussion, shall we? And we will also begin by asking the most important question. After 3-4 weeks now into its release, why is this movie still able to fill entire cinema screens? Why is it close to making $1 billion without the aid of the Chinese box office? And why is it in line to become one of the highest grossing DC movies? And since my discussions are largely opinion based, I will give you a single word answer and expand upon that. Storytelling. Storytelling is today's word, and why, you might wonder. Apologies if my voice gets a little bit croaky at times. I've been a bit unwell, but finally my voice is recovering. So if I have to step away from the microphone for a moment, do excuse me. But yes, from beginning to end, this movie, regardless of what certain critics and media responses have been toward it, in terms of saying it would have negative repercussions for society, etc., etc., has a very, very interesting progression. Joker, as a character, is defined in the beginning as a man who is battling with his state of mind, his place in life, and those of core facets in his story as a person as things progress, alongside the undertones of a socially deteriorating Gotham as the events of the movie go on. Now, put simply, we see Joker's character as a man who is struggling with the concept of his well-being between happiness, or the illusion of happiness, and outright despair, to the point where you're left on more than one occasion questioning what is reality and what is fantasy in this movie. As time goes on, and especially as spoilers ahead, by the way, there will be spoilers from this point on, so let's go with it. Especially as the mental health doctor that he visits is pulled from him and medication is no longer provided, his state of mind begins to deteriorate alongside his perceptions of various things in life. A very clever scene that depicts the fracture of Joker's character is how a woman that he encounters in the movie, he believes to be his girlfriend or his lover, when in actual fact the entire construct is crafted in his head. And as time goes on and he commits the first atrocity that takes him down the path of becoming the Joker, he likewise sees the divide. Now, this movie certainly has some, shall we say, commentary toward the haves and the have-nots. And by divide, I mean the separation between the ultra-wealthy and the average Joe in this downtrodden, grimy, ill-kempt Gotham, where the ultra-rich, especially the Wayne family, are billionaires in positions of power, and the average people are struggling. And in a weird way, Joker's actions begin to act as a twisted symbol of hope for those people, to the point where, in his state of mind, he embraces it, and in the end, as his, shall we say, concept of sanity fractures, or let's say he goes full circle and just abandons the side of him that was deemed by society as rational and embraces his inner self. He becomes unchained and, in a sense, through his monstrous actions, enlightened, and in a really, really messed up way, becomes a beacon of Gotham. Now, what else would I have to say about this one? Well, for one, I assume if you have seen it, you're still listening to this video if you have seen Joker already. Go and watch it again. There is absolutely no wonder as to why this movie is on the verge of smashing the 1 billion mark. It's definitely worth supporting, purely for the cleverly crafted elements of Joker's progression as a character. And I know I've just talked in very, very vague, loose, unstructured ways towards Joker as a character, but hey, from a certain perspective, Joker pronunciation is vague in his own perceptions of things, shall we say. He is, in some ways, the stereotypical lunatic, at least in certain elements through his comic book depiction. Well, especially in more recent years, despite a lot of people wanting to rein in elements of DC story and comics for, shall we say, social reasons, but we'll not digress on that one. That's another argument for another day. And you can also see why this movie is not having a box office release in the Chinese market, because there is a very strong undertone of control in the story. Those in the positions of wealth and power have control. Authority is derived in a very standard way from those at the top, or by those at the top, from those at the top, and obviously trickles downwards, where the people in the bottom are trapped in some ways. They have very, very limited autonomy, just like in a lot of real life senses in countries where there are stringent hierarchies in place. And obviously you can well imagine in a country like China why the concept of rebellious nature and turning one's back on the concept of control and authority is absolutely not going to fly. Now, I heard from other YouTubers in brief non-spoiler discussions that the people, who were in charge of this movie refused to bow to the obviously required edits and conditions that were expected for this movie to enter the Chinese box office. And good on them for doing that, because there is no need to dilute a story that is so well put together. And may I also make a very valid point, that the media outcry towards this movie, with people saying it's going to aggravate people, it's going to cause, bad things to happen, it's going to appeal to those of a negative disposition to act upon base urges. One, ignore the media scaring, and two, how insulting, how genuinely insulting from the perspective of the mass media to look upon us as viewers in such a narrow-minded light. Do you not think that people looking at the screen can separate entertainment and fiction from actual reality, do you think that little of the general public and the average moviegoer that you just believe it's going to cause copycats and people who emulate Joker's activities in the movie? If so, then honestly, how dare you be so stupid as to look upon people in such a almost belittling point of view, or from a belittling point of view. But yes, in short, this movie is carefully crafted. It shows Joker's progression, or the man who becomes Joker, from a downtrodden, mentally struggling man whose perceptions of reality are somewhat blurred, to somebody who is pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed to the point where he ends up, shall we say, breaking from his chains. And by doing so, he perpetrates some horrible actions. But in terms of a character development arc, it's so very complete. He finds out that so many elements of his life that he believed to be true were not, and likewise he was left questioning, in some instances, what is real and what is fiction, to culminate with a conclusion at the end that does justice to the true, shall we say, in some aspects, insanity of Joker's character when we see him in the later, Batman world, DC world. So, I know I've been talking in loose, nebulous terms towards elements of this movie, but I did say that these videos were going to be largely unstructured, unscripted discussions. I really enjoyed elements of the Joker movie, and I was, in a weird way, towards the beginning, it makes you feel some very weird things. You end up rooting for, you almost end up rooting for the man who becomes Joker. And I'm not using his name because that's the way I viewed the movie during this initial first sitting. I saw the person at the beginning as purely, in my mind, the man who became Joker. And at the end, I saw that transition into Joker. So that's why I'm using the naming labels or tags that I am. You almost root for him to fight back, and it has a very strange way of making you feel compelled to stand in his corner, and then likewise feel disgusted and appalled by the actions that he chooses to take in his transformation, but then likewise pulls you back in again. It plays with your opinions as a viewer quite strongly, and that for me is one of the reasons why I found it to be such a compelling, unnerving, but yet powerful watch at the same time. So yeah, for those of you who have seen Joker before, I would recommend you go and see it again. I will definitely be buying this on Blu-ray when it comes out. And yeah, my entire cinema screen, despite being 3-4 weeks into the actual run, was full. Was absolutely full, save maybe 1 or 2 seats. So this movie, I've heard in many places, is still getting people to come out to the cinema, still filling theatres, and is still having a very strong impression upon people. Anyway, I reckon that is where I will leave this unstructured discussion about the Joker movie. I have been Silver, and I decided to do another one of these because you guys seem to enjoy it, and everybody on the channel has been asking me to experiment with different things. So I suppose I will bring movie reviews and discussion videos into this too. And as always, if you like this video, feel free to like, comment and subscribe. And when another good movie comes along, I will consider doing another discussion video for it. As always, thank you for your time, take care, and I will talk to you again very soon. Wherever you are in the world, have a very good day.